Thank you.
Now, some perspective from the other side of the aisle. Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, before we get to the shutdown, I want to quickly start with Syria and Tulsi Gabbard's announcement on my colleague Van Jones's show. That full interview is coming up after my program, so everyone should tune in. She announced she's running for president. I saw your tweet in response, and it was, sitting high above his torture cells in Damascus, Assad is giddily crafting his wish list for the Tulsi campaign. I know what that means. I'm wondering if you might tell our audience what you meant by that.
Well, you know, look, I respect that she's taking the leap to do it. It's courageous to run for president, but, you know, now you're in the arena, and your past actions mean something. And, you know, Tulsi Gabbard went and visited with Bashar al-Assad, the guy that killed 500,000 people and suppresses his own people. You can agree that maybe intervene in Syria. You can agree that maybe Assad's the best of bad alternatives. I don't agree with any of that. But to go and meet with the guy is a pretty big deal. And so, you know, I think, look, once you step in the arena, it's fair game. And I think it's important for people to understand as she announces what her foreign policy is, and that includes sitting down with a guy like Assad.
And some Democrats have already pointed that out. Claire McCaskill on Twitter pointing that out. I actually asked someone at the Syrian American Council yesterday for a response, and that body's board member, Bassam Rifai, said Ms. Gabbard is a vital puppet for the Assad regime, and we shouldn't be fooled. I think we'll probably hear a lot more of that in coming days and weeks. Okay, I want to turn back to the shutdown. Would you support declaring a national emergency using taxpayer dollars and potentially even the military to get Trump's wall funded and up and running?
No, not really. I'd want to see if he does it. I'd want to see the details of that. You know, if it's something massive, that's different than something like when President Obama declared swine flu a national emergency. It's kind of different levels. I do want to get this wall built. Where I'm disgusted, Essie, is that we're at a shutdown right now as the only way to try to negotiate. We have quit acting like adults. And by the way, there's pox on both the Republicans and Democratic houses. We spend a lot of time saying who's more to blame, who's the, you know, and if you're on one side, it's always the other side. And we're in this battle. Everybody hates both of us, but we want them to hate the other side a little bit more. This shutdown insanity has got to stop. For the Democrats, you've got to come to the table and talk about wall. I'm sorry about it. You may not like it, but that's how divided government works. For my side, we've got to be willing to come to the table and talk about things in addition to the wall, like DACA, like the Dreamer population. We can solve all this if we start acting like adults, but we're acting like kids with temper tantrums who want the other side to look worse every time. We can't give the other side a win.
Well, and just what about the criticism of Congress, in addition to what you've said, but that for the last 2 years, Republicans controlled both chambers and maybe should have gotten border wall funding passed then? What responsibility did Republicans in Congress 2 years ago, what responsibility do they bear for where we are right now?
Well, a couple points. Certainly we wanted to do that, but there's the whole 60-vote rule in the Senate. That's just, that's the fact now. That was the fact then. We also had an opportunity this last summer. We had 2 bills that fully funded the wall and actually very positively fixed our immigration system. And my friends over in the Freedom Club on our side backed away even after the president supported one of those. And so we weren't able to get it out. The Democrats, none of them joined us in that. So everybody's to blame here. And I look at this whole thing and, you know, my issue isn't so much this fight on the wall. In 20 years, we're all going to forget about this fight, and history books will never even write about it. What it's doing to the democracy, though, this new thing of we're 1 week into a new term, and we're already talking about the next election. We're already trying to make the other side lose more. And this cycle has got to end, and all of us bear responsibility, politicians and people who vote.
Congressman Kinzinger, as always, I appreciate you coming on, talking some sense to me.
You bet.
Okay, next, how do we end